Well, radiation causes lots of different symptoms, and lots of different cancers. If you look at childhood cancers, leukemias, all that sort of thing, they're all up. We're just swimming in a sea of toxicity. These are untested. It's all experimental. We're involved in a huge, big, uncontrolled study right now, and it's making self-replicating mRNA vaccines for the world, starting in Japan next month. They're starting to disseminate it in Japan next month. If this technology gets out, it really is the end of humanity.
Hello and welcome to Resistance GB. I'm here with Tess Lawrie from the World Council for Health. Tess, would you like to tell us about the World Council for Health and what you do?
Yeah, thanks very much. Well, World Council for Health was established in September 2021, when all the stuff was happening with COVID, and we very much wanted to get trustworthy information to people. So, what they could do to protect their health during time when experimental injections were being rolled out and people weren't being told just basic things on how to support the immune system and all of that. So we came out originally with a COVID treatment guide and also cease and desist with the COVID vaccines in 2021. And then we realized actually this was not just about health. This was about sovereignty and people having a choice. So World Council for Health is a health and sovereignty advocacy organization, an initiative that's aimed at helping people take back control of their health and sovereignty. We have a mission which is called the Great Reset, which obviously is very aligned with what's happening here, the People's Reset. And the Great Reset is really designed with a number of challenges to help people escape the digital dungeon, because people don't realize mobile phones are so dangerous, to optimize your health, to buy local, bolster local communities, and obviously know your rights. So a lot of what's being discussed today. We have, I think it's really important to recognize that unity is really needed at this time. And we have an ethos that called the Better Way Principles. I've got a little leaflet here if you wanted to take it and have a look at it. It's on our website as well. And basically, we just have 7 principles, which is how we all get along together. And we act in honor and we do no harm. We are free beings with free will, so we are actually responsible for our choices. We are part of nature. Spirituality is integral to our well-being. We actually need a life of meaning and purpose. Convenience does not suit us very well. We thrive together. We value different perspectives, and we use technology with discernment. But underpinning everything is the courage to stand up for our rights and freedoms and not tolerate the violation of our rights and freedoms or profit, power, and influence coming before the well-being of people and the planet.
Well, I was recently just tutoring the kids I tutor in history about the Nuremberg Code and a lot of the atrocities that happened during the Second World War. I actually got them to read through the entire thing. And it's only 10 points, and the first point is the longest, and it couldn't be more clear about informed consent of the patient. Why do you think it is that so many doctors and other health practitioners have completely moved away from the first and clearest principle of this historic code?
Well, everybody's been brainwashed, and it's really difficult to know when this started. But we see that propaganda through the media has been a massive influence, and our doctors are not in control of their health advice. They receive the health advice from so-called scientific authorities, but the scientific authorities have vested interests, and they're appointed by the government. And the government is not in charge of policy either. They're just policy enforcers. They receive instruction from the World Health Organization and the United Nations, and the World Monetary Fund and all that stuff. So all those organizations, they're not in charge of policy either. They're the policy distributors. So who's making the policy? Well, the policy is coming from corporations and corporate entities and organizations like the World Economic Forum, the Rockefeller Foundation, and
Bill Gates.
Yeah, exactly.
He just keeps getting richer despite his philanthropy.
But the banks are in charge of the whole lot. So, the Bank of International Settlements and the families that control the banks. So we're at the bottom of the heap. and the doctors and educators are just administering policy for the policy enforcers, etc., and the banks. And so this is why at World Council for Health we really are encouraging people to take back their decision making, take back control of health, and really start looking at what causes disease, not how can I fix the symptoms, I've got a headache or whatever, I'm feeling depressed and anxious. And let's look at what causes disease. Let's look at what's making us feel unwell. And let's look at the root cause. So we're encouraging people really to get back to the root cause of disease and optimize your health. Because if you're healthy, well, then nothing's going to make you ill.
What do you think are the root causes of disease then, and how would you say is best to tackle those, if this is what you're targeting?
Great question. Well, if you look at the world we live in a very toxic environment. Okay, we're exposed to a lot of chemicals and pollutants, chemicals in the form of the pesticides in our food. Glyphosate is used ubiquitously. Our food is sprayed to keep the bugs off and to keep the weeds out, and in this industrial farming. And also long life, you can go into a shop and you just see all these products, they last forever on the shelves, hardly find really fresh stuff. So our food is increasingly toxic, the seed oils, etc., all these deep fried things, or fried foods and
because your body
oils.
just cannot process these seed oils, and then they just clog you up.
Yeah, exactly. It's all toxic ingredients, So we need to look at the food, the environmental pollution. Obviously, there's a lot of chemicals being pumped into the skies at the moment. You may be aware of something called chemtrails, and some call them contrails. But, these noughts and crosses that you can play in the sky these days, they can be measured. And there's aluminium and barium and strontium and all these chemicals in there as part of the stratospheric aerosol injection program from governments. So governments have taken it upon themselves to experiment on blocking out the sun for the sake of climate change or the climate agenda. And so there are huge amounts of pollutants in the air that we breathe right now. Obviously, these chemicals land on the ground in our food, and even if you're growing your own food at home, which I hope everybody is doing, there's a risk of contamination there. So that's the geoengineering side. Other toxins are the toxins we can't see. Now, many people remember smoking or smoke. Many people smoke, and they're very gracious, and they go and stand outside and have their cigarette, and then they come back inside and whatever. But what about the toxins we can't see? And people are really, we've been a little bit, what's the word? I say willful blindness, and it's the mobile phone technology. They transmit radio frequency radiation, very high levels of radio frequency radiation. So, you might not have a mobile phone, but I sit next to you and I start downloading stuff and whatever. I'm really exposing you to huge amounts of radio frequency radiation. And if I was smoking, you'd say, well, that's very antisocial. You're blowing your smoke in my face. But basically, people need to realize that these are very toxic gadgets. And if you read the small print, it says, don't keep these on your body. Don't, when you buy a phone, they're not good for your health and all that stuff. But we don't read the fine print. We just check the box because otherwise you can't get the phone.
I know with RFK, he was talking about the certain cancers, especially sort of in this region of the brain, which are increased by the use of phones quite regularly. But I believe it's difficult, but not impossible, but difficult to study the effects of phones generally because they're in your pocket. They're maybe in different pockets, and the radiation can trigger different places, can't it?
Well, radiation causes lots of different symptoms, and lots of different cancers. If you look at childhood cancers, leukemias, and all that sort of thing, they're all up. And because we're just swimming in a sea of toxicity, I use the example of a goldfish in a bowl. We're in this bowl of toxicity, and what we're doing, we're getting headaches and anxiety and all that, and we're getting SSRIs, or what they call antidepressants or anxiolytics, from the doctor. That's really, really not very bright, if you would say. You wouldn't try and treat the fish when the fish tank is so dirty. You would clean the water. So what we need to do is start taking the fish out and starting in clean water. And obviously, if you go out and live in the country, well, that would be one way of doing that, making sure you don't have mobile phone technology and toxic food and all that stuff.
With the toxic signals, is it best to completely get rid of a mobile phone? Because a lot of people will find that very difficult because they're expected to have a phone for work. They're expected to be on call. Maybe they have sick relatives and they need to be on call in some sort of way. What is the best approach? Because I know there are Faraday bags that you can put your phone in, but then that's blocking out the signal. So if there is an important call, it won't come through.
I think what we have to realize is we have a responsibility to ourselves to keep ourselves healthy. We have a responsibility to those people around us, and we also have a responsibility to the planet because we share this with lots of other creatures and insects and things. And what we are seeing is a huge reduction in insects and bees. We need bees to pollinate our food. Without bees, we can't eat. We're not going to have any food. So we need to actually realize that the small actions we take today will have an effect because we are many, The small actions we take will have an effect for the benefit of everybody and others. And there are many things we can do. So obviously, it's a stepwise approach. We have a website called thegreatfreeset.org. And on that website, you can find small ways to, for example, escape the digital dungeon. Which will be not only good for your health, but So what I do, obviously, I'm basically on call all the time. People are trying to reach me all the time. I Ethernet cable my laptop. My laptop has my apps on it, and I have a monitor, which everybody should have, a monitor to measure Wi-Fi radiation, and so I can tell you that in my home, when I've Ethernet cabled my laptop and I don't use my phone. I have zero radiation on my monitor, on my measuring thing. At work, when I'm in town, there's a baseline that's so high that you can't get away from. It's always high wherever you are in Bath.
How much do these monitors cost?
So there are many different brands. I have one that's sort of a higher spec that's about 400 quid, but there's some that they range from like 80 quid or so. And it really is essential, if you want to measure your exposure and really start thinking about these things. A lot of, it affects all creatures. And if you've got pets, your pets will be affected by radiation as well. A lot of people are not sleeping that well, and they don't realize, their mobile phone next to their bed is actually responsible for that. And getting tinnitus or tinnitus and the ringing in the ears is also something very commonly experienced. So, there are people who cannot live, who couldn't be in this building, for example, because they're so sensitive. And they're the canaries in the coal mine. They're the ones
I've met a woman like that. I've met a woman who she couldn't be around a phone, otherwise she would be out. And it was really strange to come across. But you think if she is just exhibiting a lot of the symptoms that other people may be getting over time at a lower level, then maybe she is that canary in the coal mine.
Yeah, there are. At least 5% of people are, and they're having to actually move. And it's more and more difficult to find those areas that are Wi-Fi free, because even in the countryside, there's a lot of cell phone masts going up. And the antenna, and it's really, the other day we went out to see this beautiful farm in the countryside, most wonderful location, and we were thinking, it would be lovely to spend more time out there. And we measured, and it was the radiation on the monitor was extreme. And then we looked around and we saw there was a mobile tower that was up on the hill, and was generating extreme radiation to this beautiful piece of land with a whole lot of food growing there. So,
is there a difference between the signal for phone calls as opposed to internet?
I'm not too sure but I know that if you've got your mobile phone on, and if it's struggling to get a signal, it's going to be searching out all over, and that might be even more dangerous than you having Wi-Fi, a good Wi-Fi connection, because what it's doing is it's sending out beams everywhere, especially with 5G. It's a beam forming technology, and so it's reaching out all the time to find the Wi-Fi. And that in itself could make one feel quite ill. I certainly, I'm not very sensitive, but I do know that I feel most sensitive when I'm in a location, I'm trying to get Wi-Fi connection, because obviously it's calling in all it can to reach out and make a connection. And the other thing is, because it's beamforming, you can be in a whole room, and there's no way of knowing what your exposure is, because it's beamforming, and if everybody's got their mobile phones, there's going to be hotspots that are formed, and we don't know, because it's cumulative in certain spots. So I think what I'm trying to get to with all of these things we're describing in terms of toxins is that we're living in a world of unregulated technologies, unconsented technologies, and profit-driven decision-making on our behalf that's being taken at a corporate level. We're not being asked our permission. And so, we need to take back control and say, we are free. You have absolutely no right to put up a cell phone tower here, or put these chemicals in our food or in our skies. And the more we're all saying that together, the more we're able to take back our power from these corporations. And we need to stop paying them too. We need to stop giving them our money and paying them our attention, because the more time you spend on there, they're using that data, they're selling that data, and they're turning you into a consumer product. So basically, you say to your partner, I need a new frying pan, and the next minute you've got frying pans coming up on your mobile phone.
Because they're listening to you.
Because they're listening all the time.
Spying all the time. So, can I ask, 5G, is that more deadly than the rest of them?
Well, yes, because it's a microwave technology, and it's as I say, it's beamforming. Previous technologies have been
a longer wavelength.
Yes.
So they go further,
yes.
but they're not as quick.
Yes. So they need more of these antennae. So shorter, and they have to take down the trees because they can't reach.
They can be stopped by walls, so they're much shorter distance, but they can be much faster, much more powerful.
Yes, and also because of this microwave frequency, of course, what we haven't been taught and what they're not teaching in schools is that we are electrical beings, we're electromagnetic, and we're based on yes, we have chemicals happening, we have chemistry, but we also have physics and frequency. Our heartbeat and everything is an electrical signal, so we are affected by wave technology, and these microwaves are similar wavelengths to mechanisms within our bodies themselves. So it can interfere, certainly, and because it's an unregulated technology, they're selling licenses for more and more bandwidths, and it's just a money-making thing. So they'll go up to whatever they like if they can make money from it, and So really, what we need to take on board is that these are untested. It's all experimental. We're involved in a huge, big, uncontrolled study right now.
Well, I mean, this is one of the things RFK talks about, because he talks about, having multiple candidates for the rates of autism going through the roof. So I think one of the things that he talked about was maybe some of the plastics. Obviously, all of the jabs that they give people. And I think he said there was something else that might be in the food, possibly. He said all of these things, all of these modern things are being introduced at the same time. And on top, we've got all of this radiation. So we've got so many moving parts. It's sort of shocking the amount of things that have happened, and they've not really been tested. People think that just because these have been around for their lifetimes that they're normal, but they're not actually normal. If you go back most of human history, you go back to your grandparents, and most of it didn't exist. It's strange. Can I ask, what about aluminium? Because I've been told it's toxic, but we have aluminium cans.
Yeah, I don't drink anything in an aluminium can now, and of course, aluminium is part of the stratospheric aerosol injection program as well. So I try and avoid aluminium in containers, and obviously, I've had my fair share of aluminium. But the thing is, I think what one also wants to convey is it's not the end of the world. Now that we know all these things, it's very empowering, and we need to realize, so we can take back control of our health. We can actually look at all the different things that, take one step at a time. So, okay, today let's stop aluminium, let's be careful and not buy aluminium stuff. Maybe tomorrow you're strong enough to say, I'm not going to have coffee anymore, because coffee actually makes you anxious. And obviously you have coffee, and then at the end of the day, you want some alcohol to bring you down. And, so, I am not off the coffee yet, but that's my next challenge. So it's about thinking, what is it that I feel I can do today Let me not try and do something that you're great at and you're saying, oh, well, you should be doing this. And let me think about, there's a whole range of things I can do. And I'm going to try this today, and I'm going to do that for a week or two, and then maybe I'll take on another little challenge and just extract myself from this.
That's what I'm trying to do, because at the moment I'm changing my diet to mostly meats. And, a few people saying, okay, you're going to stop smoking as well. I'm like, no, I'm going to work the diet first, and then I'm going to deal with my, smoking addiction. Because otherwise, if you try and do everything at the same time, you're going to be a carnivorous addict with withdrawal symptoms. That is not something you want to put up with. But yeah, I do think one step at a time is good.
In uncertain times, one asset continues to rise: gold. More than just a precious metal, gold is a globally recognized tier 1 asset with no counterparty risk. Its history of preserving value during turbulent periods makes it a trusted store of wealth. With central banks and nation states buying record vaults, it's clear gold is more than just an investment, it's financial security. Secure yours today with Knights Bullion. Visit knightsbullion.com or call 01789 266 595.
May I just say, I also just wanted to show you, we have, so World Council for Health has all these country councils. I think I mentioned, we're decentralizing, and we asked them to submit a detox protocol. So what their best guidance was in their country for how to detox from not just the mRNA, biotech, unregulated technologies, but also whatever toxins there are in the environment. So we have, we've got these different protocols from Indonesia and Malaysia and British Isles and Japan and so on. And you can download this booklet on our website for not terribly much. And you can have a look through and just see, oh, maybe I'll try that from what they're doing in the British Isles. I'll try that protocol and I'll try that. There might be something that appeals, just a way to detox from what's in the environment.
Well, I know a lot of people will be interested in this, because a lot of people, they spoke to their friends and their family. They said, do not do this, do not do this. With a lot of people, they've been cut off permanently. But with some people, they've done it, they've regretted it, they've come back to their friends and they've said, oh, what do I do now? And so I think this information will actually be very useful to a lot of people whose friends and family didn't listen to them, but who've recognised the error of their ways.
So some of those are specifically for vaccine detox, but there are others that are general detox, because I think we need to recognise we're kind of all in this together, whether our loved ones were vaccinated or not. It doesn't really matter. We're all exposed to that technology, as well as all these other toxins. So we can all do with a detox at this stage. But we also have a Transform Your Health guide, which is those people who really want to the big picture of how to really take back control and look at ways of optimizing health before one gets sick or preventing disease, as well as, and getting some ideas for long-term sort of way of living.
Is a meat-based diet one of the best ways to go?
I wouldn't say one diet is necessarily better than another. We're all different. And so it's really up to the individual to decide what is best for them. I do believe in intermittent fasting. I do think intermittent fasting is really great. I personally only eat I haven't had breakfast yet. What time is it? 2 o'clock or something, 1 o'clock. I'm going to have breakfast soon. And then, and then dinner. So I eat between a sort of 6-hour window. And I feel that that's really, really helpful. Obviously, lots of lovely water and fresh fruit and vegetables is really important in a diet. But I know, but that's for me. But I fully accept that some people prefer to try a carnivorous and go on a meat diet, and I believe that helps a lot of people. So
one of our guests recently, he actually came up to me the other day, and I hope he probably won't mind me saying this. He started fasting. He was doing a 2-week fast, noticed discoloration when he went to the toilet, went to the doctors. They took a look at him, said, oh, turns out that was kidney stones, but it appears you've cured yourself. He said, what? And they said, yeah, that's them just flushing out. You've just got rid of kidney stones for yourself. And he had no clue they were there, so they would have continued being there if he hadn't have been fasting. He completely cured himself without any medication.
It's amazing. We really can do without food. And I know, some people think, oh, I'm starving, I'm going to die if I don't have breakfast, or if I haven't eaten all day, what's going to happen to me? I'm going to waste away. But in actual fact, people can last a very long time without food. It's water. It's really good quality water that we need. And as long as we've got water, we can actually survive quite well without food. I know, if you look at the old, Indian gurus and that sort of thing, they could go a month without food and they'd have great enlightenment and experience wonderful revelations. So, I think people need to not be afraid of not eating. Rather, as long as you're well hydrated and you're in a good frame of mind and you're, at peace and not feeling stressed and not, and you've taken the time out to give yourself that rest, fasting can be very, very good for you.
Well, one thing I would like to ask you, and I'm sure there are other people speaking about it here at the People's Reset, but is the tap water safe? Should you be filtering it? And because a lot of people say, don't drink the tap water, drink the bottled water. And you go to drink the bottled water and you realise that actually it's all bottled in fresh plastic, right? So this isn't just a plastic pipe that's gone through 100 times before. This is a brand new fresh bottle which could be leaching. And I mean, there have been studies to show that it's completely, it differs between brands and batches, etc. It's leaching into your water. So what should you do?
Yeah, plastic should be absolutely banished. I agree, and there has been concerns about estrogen and plastic for a long time, and obviously other chemicals and microplastics and all of that. So the tap water is not good for you. It's full of chemicals, and fluoride is, one of those that's been added. And so we filter all our water. We have a standalone filter, and I've got into the practice of having a flask made of stainless steel and filling it up and making sure that if I am going on a train or whatever, I've got my own flask of water. Obviously, there's times when you have to, you need water. We need water. I need to keep hydrated. So then I'll look for a glass bottle. And if I can't get a glass bottle, well, then on that day, one has a plastic bottle. But, I agree with you. To use plastic bottled water is not going to be, a good alternative as a routine.
So stainless steel would be okay. Copper?
Copper, I believe, is a good bottle, and obviously get yourself a good water filter. There are lots of different ones. I'm not going to suggest any brands, but there are many. There's a huge industry now in these in water filters, but they do last a long time and well worth investing in.
Well, I can say since we've started filtering water in mine, I literally can't drink the tap water. We actually have to refill the top of it and it filters through slowly. If there's none left at the bottom because someone forgot to refill it, I go to drink the tap water. I just go, I'm going to wait 10 minutes and then I'm going to drink this stuff because you taste the difference.
Yeah, it's just, you can smell it now. A lot of people, when you're used to it, you don't, when you're used to the tap water, you don't notice it, but now I can smell tap water a mile away.
And I've started making sure that my cats are also getting the filtered water as well.
You will see, like I know with pets, well, certainly my dog, who sadly doesn't live with me anymore, but, she never liked the tap water, but she'd go and drink from a dirty puddle outside because the puddle outside has lovely structured nature's water in it. And the tap water, obviously they can smell, their sense of smell is a lot stronger better than ours. And she just wouldn't always turn her nose up at the tap water.
And so I guess we should also be avoiding plastic packaging elsewhere. So should we try and stick to, ceramic as much as we can?
Yes, well, we need to get back to home-cooked food because home food is where, you know what's gone into it. So we're fortunate to be able to shop once a week at the market in Bath. It's a people's market. It has vegetables, it has meat, it has game meat as well. There's kimchi and there's honey and there's cheese and mushrooms and all these products that have come from people's allotments or whatever. The small farms and industries, and people would probably be amazed if you do shop at the supermarket, because we don't shop at the supermarket anymore. It's just literally, I could say the last year I haven't been into a supermarket, but I was shopping before. So it's just about gradually introducing these new behaviors into one's life. But now on a Saturday morning, we have an empty fridge. Like literally there's nothing there. There's maybe a bottle of kimchi that my man made, and there'll be like a little bit of kimchi left, and that's it, and then we go off to market, we get the veg and the meat, some honey, lovely honeycomb, and a fresh loaf of bread, home baked. And that's what we live on for the week, and then it's finished, and then we stock up again. So everything we eat is fresh, fermented, beautiful produce. And people say, oh, that must be really expensive. But I can tell you, it costs us for two of us, like, 60 quid or something for the week, because we're not buying all the crap and the plastic bottles and the mayonnaise and the tomato sauce and the bottle of this, and you think you need that, and you get told to buy one, get one free, and you end up buying crisps or this and that. We don't buy any of that anymore, and we used to. So our shopping bill used to be much more than what we spend now. And now our money is not going to Tesco's or Sainsbury's or Morrison's or Waitrose. It's going to Chris Rich, who's the farmer, and the Kimber's farm, and the game guy with a feather in his hat, and and Glastonbury kimchi. So I feel much better about the food that we eat and our new way of life.
So you are trying to wake as many people up as possible. How many doctors and health practitioners have you got on board so far?
Well, I wanted to stress that we are not a medical organization. So we're not a doctors' organization. We're made up of doctors, scientists, lawyers, media, aligned media, all those individuals, all those people, men and women who are striving for a better way. Our motto is "There's a better way," and we're on our journey to this better world. We're going to create it. We're going to co-create it together. So I couldn't count how many doctors and health professionals we have, because we are comprised of many partner organizations. We've got 250 partner organizations around the world, and it's through those partner organizations. So there could be 5G organizations, there could be media organizations, medical organizations, homeopathic organizations, naturopathic, it's through those organizations that these country councils are formed, and these community councils and town councils and whatever. So I would say thousands to be a conservative estimate, but hundreds of thousands of volunteers. And I don't know if you're aware that, there's this international COVID summit in Japan as we speak. It's been going on for 3 days. And I mean, people will know people like Dr. Mark Trozzi and Jason Christoph from World Council for Health Canada. We have Katie Ashby-Coppins from Australia. We have Japanese Council for Health members there, Singapore Council for Health, and Brazil, and Robert Malone, Dr. Robert Malone, and Dr. Ryan Cole, and all those doctors are gathered there to raise awareness of the dangers of self-replicating mRNA vaccines or biotechnology. I'm not sure if you're aware of this technology, but I think everyone knows about mRNA vaccines, because that was the basis of the COVID vaccine. And it's not real vaccine technology.
Yeah, it goes in and it tells your cell to overproduce the spike protein, which is considered to be the main toxin.
Exactly. It's a recipe to make spike protein, basically. What's happening in Japan is there's this factory called Arcalis, and they have been, this factory's in Fukushima, and it's making self-replicating mRNA vaccines for the world, starting in Japan next month. They're starting to disseminate it in Japan next month.
Wait. So these would keep going forever. These could overtake the human body, and these could be transmitted between people.
Yeah, very, very sharp. Yeah, exactly. So it's literally, instead of giving the body a recipe to make spike protein, it gives the body a recipe to make mRNA vaccine that's transmissible to others. So it turns people's bodies into vaccine factories that can, and then they're, walking transmission. And obviously this is totally overrides consent and clearly...
Nuremberg Code?
And all of that. So
Geneva Convention?
I think it's really time for everybody to realize these are bioweapons. They're not actually a medical technology. And so what's happening in Japan, what was happening today was a massive rally. And the wonderful thing in Japan is that people really are mobilizing and motivated to stop this technology, and it has implications for the world. There are many that believe this really, if this technology gets out, it really is the end of humanity, because this changes the genetic code, and we have no, and obviously if we don't have any say in the matter, then that's a big problem. So I just wanted to say we're very grateful. The World Council of Health is really very grateful to the people of Japan for standing up on behalf of the world. And they have a saying in Japan, which I discovered when I was there recently for a World Council of Health Japan meeting. And the saying is Ganbaro. Ganbaro, when you go to these rallies in Japan, they go Ganbaro like this. And I said, well, what does that mean? They say it means let's do our best. And I really love that, So I find myself saying Ganbaro. I've actually, I made a little song for myself, Ganbaro. Ganbaro, let's do our best. There's a word I didn't know, but that word is Ganbaro. And it means do your best. So the World Council of Health logo is, you'll see it's a sort of a hand and a heart inside a lovely pink wholesome apple. And so, last weekend when it was raining, I made this little Ganbaro sign. It means let's do our best. And I think it's really something that I want, to sort of use as a World Council for Health thing now. There's a better way. Let's do our best, and have everybody wearing their hearts on their hands, as a sign.
Not just your heart on your sleeve.
In actual fact, I was trying it out in the car the other day, because in a car, you're thanking people all the time. You're saying, oh, thanks for letting me in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And especially in a traffic jam when everyone's raging, I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if you're saying, thanks, you're kind of flashing a heart to people. And that might make their day, especially if they're feeling really grumpy. And get them back to what really matters, which is that we all love each other, we'll in this together, and it's really, about us uniting against these globalists now, and really showing them that we won't be controlled, that we are free, and it's enough now.
Do you think that you're having a big impact? Because I know over here there may not be as much support in Parliament, but are you trying to make MPs aware and bring them around, or are you going purely grassroots? We
are a grassroots organisation, and we have policy briefs. So we brought out a policy brief in 2023 on rejecting monopoly power over global public health. We brought out policy briefs on the threat of digitalization on health and democracy. And we have disseminated these, our supporters, because we're just funded by small donations from the public. They're paid to have these briefs delivered, or certainly the WHO one, the monopoly power one, to all MPs, 600. It costs us 2,500 or something to have them delivered. Andrew Bridgen delivered them at the time in May 2023, and we've held debates, we've done all of that, and I used to say, 20% of the work we do is resistance, and 80% is co-creation, creating the new, because we're not just going to stand there and say we don't want that. We can't just be against something, we have to be for something.
Yeah, you have to build a new system. Exactly. I was talking about this morning.
So I used to say 20% and 80% co-creation, but now I say 5% resistance. Yes, we say no, but we have to build the new. We have to actively create the new. The best way to fight evil is to make energetic progress in the good. And that is not my words. That comes from the I Ching or the Tao Te Ching, or, all of that. It's ancient Chinese wisdom. It's really, there's only so much you can do with evil. The best way to fight it is just to make energetic progress in the good.
Right, and keep fighting, and we'll do our best.
Keep creating. Let's do our best.
Let's
Yes.
do our best. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Please give us a like, a share, a subscribe, hit the notification button if you would like to help. We've got a Patreon and a Subscribe Star, so please head on over there and pledge us some support if you want to keep this journalism going. We've got a professional studio here, and we could do with your support. Finally, consider coming down to our upcoming Resistance GB Live. You can meet the guests, you can engage. We've got Kate Chemirani, supported by fantastic freedom band Whom by Fire. It's Thursday, 31st of October, down at Finsbury Park's a Night Owl. Doors open 5:30. We'll see you there.